How's everyone doing? Welcome back to another episode of The Banker Next Door. I am your host, Dr. Joe Berquist. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing a review of the guide from ICBA on the Genius Act. And unfortunately, I couldn't put a link to this report because this is kind of a member-only document at the moment. But I did want to share it with everybody because it does give a great rundown of what's in the Genius Act, what does it mean for banks, and then most importantly, at the end, what is the timeline for implementation. So let's jump into this. I'm going to show everybody. So this is the report here from ICBA. Not a very long report. It's only like 8 pages. But it's called the Genius Act, a summary for community banks, dated July of 2025. And then we'll go in here. So, and I'm going to blow this up a little bit. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. So that people could get a better view of this. So again, just the top here, President Trump signed the Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for U.S. Stablecoins Act, otherwise known as the Genius Act, into law on July 18, 2025. The Genius Act is the first federal law enacted to regulate issuers of payment stablecoins. Stablecoins are cryptocurrencies designed to maintain a stable value by being linked to traditional currencies, and payment stablecoins are a specific type of stablecoin defined in the Act. So the Genius Guide at a glance. So the Genius Act creates a new regulatory framework for payment stablecoins that does basically the following 9 things. Number 1, it authorizes permitted payment stablecoin issuers to issue payment stablecoins. Number 2, it creates a framework for permitting payment stablecoin issuers to be approved and regulated at the federal or state level, depending on entity type and the amount of payment stablecoins issued. Number 3, it permits digital asset service providers, i.e., banks, custodians, exchanges, or other intermediaries to offer custody and safekeeping of payment stablecoins. Number 4, confirms banks' ability to engage in the new law's contemplated payment stablecoin activities and investments. Number 5, it applies anti-money laundering and economic sanctions requirements to payment stablecoin issuers. Number 6, provides for tailored capital, liquidity, and risk management rules for payment stablecoin issuers. Number 7, prohibits deceptive marketing and misrepresentation of government backing of payment stablecoins. And number 8, permits foreign stablecoin issuers to offer and sell payment stablecoins in the U.S. if the Treasury Secretary approves it. And then number 9, gives stablecoin holders a super priority over other claimants if there is a stablecoin reserve shortfall in an issuer bankruptcy. So again, all very important parts. I would focus everybody on number 3, permits digital asset service providers to offer custody and safekeeping of payment stablecoins. I think that is the play for most banks out there up front, to basically just be a custodian of the digital assets. And most banks are not going to want to be an issuer of stable coins. I don't know that that's really going to be necessary, but offering a digital wallet and being a custodian, holding those digital assets, maybe overlapping that digital wallet with other, accounts or other deposit accounts and other things that the customer has, so that it gives them a variety of options to use. That could get very interesting. I think it actually in some ways could be a really good thing. It might morph or change, like when you think of like mobile banking right now, like a mobile banking app, it might add a whole nother layer to that, or might dramatically change how that is used. I mean, maybe the mobile app turns more in, maybe it morphs more into like a digital wallet over time. I don't know. We'll see. But again, I think this is interesting. But I think that is the play for most banks out there, to be a custodian, as opposed to issuing stable coins or interacting with payments and getting in the middle of that thing. So, but like I said, I digress. We'll go on here. So, and again, I'm not going to get into the weeds on everything in here. I'm just trying to give everyone the overview here. So let's go in here. The Genius Act, a deeper dive and impact on community banks. So under the Genius Act, a community bank may, subject to applicable regulatory approval, issue its own payment stablecoins, act as custodian for a payment stablecoin issuer, and engage in all stablecoin related activities and investments contemplated by the new law. So my guess, for whatever my 2 cents is worth, is I think the way this is going to go is actually bullet point number 2 will come first: act as a custodian for payment stablecoin issuers. And then I think bullet point number 3 will probably come second. Engage in all stablecoin related activities and investments contemplated by the new law, which could be some things and not others. And then I think the last one, or the first bullet point, issue its own payment stablecoins. Yeah, I think that's going to be the big banks. That's going to be J.P. Morgan and maybe Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo. That's not going to be. I don't think. I could be wrong. I don't think that's going to be your small community banks at first. But obviously, J.P. Morgan's already got their JPM coin. They got their thing ready to go. This summary describes key provisions of the Genius Act with a focus on what the new law will mean for community banks after the implementing regulation becomes effective. So number 1, creates a new regulatory framework for payment stablecoins. So and then it gets into A, payment stablecoins, and then it gets into B, permitting payment stablecoin issuers. So the Genius Act makes it unlawful for any person or entity other than a permitted payment stablecoin issuer to issue payment stablecoins in the U.S. So, and then it gets into, what is that? Any entity formed in the U.S. that is a subsidiary of a national or state chartered bank, insured depository institutions such as a community bank, and has been approved to issue payment stablecoins by the institution's primary federal regulator, a federal qualified payment stablecoin issuer, or a state qualified payment stablecoin issuer. So, and then we get down into part 2, authorizes bank issuance of payment stablecoins. So the Genius Act permits approved subsidiaries of community banks to issue payment stablecoins in accordance with issuance standards for the composition of reserves, disclosure of the issuer's redemption policy, and limits on permissible activities. So and then it gets into like the composition of reserves. The new law requires an issuer to maintain identifiable reserves of U.S. dollars and or high quality liquid assets at least equal to the value of the outstanding payment stablecoins, i.e., on at least a 1-to-1 basis. Reserves may comprise the following: U.S. coins or currency, demand deposits, short-dated treasury bills, money received under certain collateralized overnight purchase agreements, otherwise repo, certain money market funds, similarly liquid government issued assets, and then the tokenized form of many of these assets. So I think the most interesting one on there is number 3, the short dated treasury bills. Obviously, the government wants the purchase, they want banks to purchase a lot more treasury bills because that will help them in dealing with and refinancing, rolling over, issuing of all the actions that go on with dealing with the national debt. So I think number 3 is a big one on here. And then it goes on to say, reserves may not be pledged, rehypotheticated. I'm totally not saying that word right. Rehypothecated. Okay, there we go. Yeah. This is a children's book, by the way, or reused directly or indirectly for any other purpose except to satisfy margin obligations of certain reserves. Okay, and then it says, issuers must file month-end reports of the composition. And then it gets into disclosure of redemption policy, limits on activities, prohibition on the payment interest. Then we get into part 3, which authorizes bank custody and safekeeping of payment stablecoins. Part 4 confirms community banks' ability to engage in the new law's contemplated payment stablecoin activities and investments. Part 5 applies anti-money laundering and economic sanction requirements to payment stablecoin issuers. Part 6 provides for tailored capital, liquidity, and risk management rules. Part 7 prohibits deceptive marketing and misrepresentation of government backing of payment stablecoins. Part 8 permits foreign stablecoin issuers to offer and sell payment stablecoins in the U.S. if the Treasury Secretary approves. And Part 9 gives stablecoin holders a super priority over other claimants if there is a stablecoin reserve shortfall in an issuer bankruptcy. So, and then number 10 is not immediately effective and full implementation will take time. And this is the part that I wanted to get into here at the end. So the Genius Act becomes effective on the earlier of January 18th, 2027, or the date that is 120 days after the date on which the federal banking regulators issue the final implementing regulations. So the new law involves numerous notice and comment rulemakings that will present opportunities to offer comments to the regulators. So the regulators must issue most regulations 1 year after enactment, so by July 18th, 2026, and must submit a report to Congress that describes these regulations 180 days after enactment by January 14th, 2026. So again, just to go over the timeline here. So the date, basically the effective date is the earlier of either January 18th, 2027 or 120 days after the federal payment stablecoin regulators issue the final rules. Now, my guess would be that this is going to take a little while because of the comments period. What did it say here? So the new law involves numerous notice and comment rulemakings. Obviously, we got the top 9 things that it's going to go through here. So you're going to have notice and then comment periods on all of those items. My guess would be. And that's gonna take a little time to get through that. So, and then ultimately the impact. So issuance restrictions. So only permitted payment stablecoin issuers are allowed to issue stablecoins in the U.S. And then restrictions on exchanges and other digital asset service providers. So illegal for digital asset service providers to offer or sell a payment stablecoin to a person in the U.S. unless it is issued by a permitted stablecoin or a permitted payment stablecoin issuer, subject to limited safe harbor. So again, a lot of things have to happen before this goes into effect, but I like this. This was kind of short and sweet. This little guide here that ICBA put together, I thought it did a good job of basically laying it all out, basically, trying to give community banks an idea as to, how this is going to work, what you are and aren't going to be able to do with this. And it just, like I said, just goes through the bill at a glance and then gives you the timeline at the end. So I thought this was really good. Again, I wish people could download this, but unless you're an ICBA member right now, you can't. So that's why I was just hoping to cover this in an episode that people could, see what it was. But obviously, a lot more to come on this. I will report as we have updates and as new things happen, as the rulemaking process begins to go through with the regulators, as they start to put notice out there and look for comments. I will continue to report on this and let everybody know what is going on. But with that being said, I will wrap up this episode by saying, if you like this episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, as that really helps the channel. Remember, we are on Rumble, YouTube, and all major podcast platforms. Please be sure to leave your comments down below, as I always love getting back to everybody. And as always, please check out some of the other content on the channel. I hope everyone has a great day out there. Thank you for listening, and I will be back again real soon. Thanks a lot.